Welcome back. If you are eyeing a new car for the holidays, you may be wondering just how much it'll cost you and if the United Auto Workers Union's new contracts will drive up those costs. The UAW secured significant pay raises from the big three automakers, General Motors, Ford, and Stellantis. They'll increase wages by more than 30% over the span of the contracts, but experts say car buyers shouldn't expect to foot the bill. The bigger reason is labor makes up less than 10% of the total cost of the car. Lauren Fix, also known as the Car Coach, joins us to explain what car buyers can expect. Lauren is a nationally recognized automobile expert and the CEO of Automotive Aspects. Excuse me, Lauren, thank you so much for joining us. First question, if labor is such a small portion of the price of a vehicle, where does that big bulk that people are paying for come from?
Well, you've got not just labor costs, which have gone up, but remember, when you think labor, you also have to think of the benefits. A lot of times those are covered completely by the car manufacturer, so that also would get really expensive. But you also have raw materials. So we're trying to get to more electric vehicles, more hybrid vehicles, and all of that is going to cost more because all those plants that make all those raw materials that go into batteries, well, 90% of them or more are owned by China, and they're controlling, obviously, all those rare earth minerals, everything that goes into those battery plants. We are building battery plants here in the U.S. Sales aren't necessarily there. So you have to look at it in a really simple way. If you had a coffee store and the cost of coffee went up, then you would raise the price of the coffee that you were selling to your customers. But if the cups also go up and the lids and the electricity and everything else, then the prices go up. And this is exactly what's happening. Parts are more expensive. Many of them are made overseas. Getting them here because everything is more expensive. Fuel, electricity costs more, utilities cost more, raw materials, labor. And as you add all this up, you've also got more expense in design and marketing and advertising and people, not just on the worker side of the UAW, but also on the people that are working, doing other aspects of the corporation. And it's all going to add up because you get fixed and variable costs.
Now, car costs have been such a big point of emphasis ever since the pandemic, really, since they were costing so much back then. Is there any way to estimate how much more it will cost for these companies to manufacture these cars?
Well, from what I'm hearing, it's going to be anywhere between $1,500 and $3,000 more to the consumer. And that's the part that is interesting. Now, could they absorb it all? Sure, but then their profit margin shrinks and they have to pay taxes. So you have to remember, if car manufacturers, this is an interesting thing people don't think about, but if car manufacturers decide we're not going to build electric cars because they're not selling, this is where the problem comes into play, because it's billions of dollars in fines if they don't meet the corporate average fuel economy, if they don't meet the EV standards that are mandated by the government. On the other side, they have millions of dollars in losses for every electric car they sell. Nobody, not even Tesla, makes money on their electric cars. Tesla makes their money by selling the carbon credits to other car manufacturers that don't sell electric cars, like Mazda are working on it, or Subaru, who's just starting to come out with those electric cars. So that's how they make money. So car manufacturers are really in a negative position no matter whether they build or don't build electric vehicles. And adding that on top of everything else getting more expensive, including interest rates and inflation and everything else, well, that's all going to lead to everything getting more expensive, including the cost of a vehicle.
Lauren, I got to say, you do a great way of segueing into the very next question. You know, a lot of people focus on the interest rates when it comes to the mortgages, but you know, these apply to other things as well, car payments being one of them. What advice would you give to people to save some money?
Well, first off, if you're in a situation and you cannot afford your car payment, maybe you bought it pre-pandemic or during the pandemic, you paid too much for that vehicle, and you're like, I don't know, I'm going to pay for it. Everything costs more, food, utilities, everything in our lives. One thing I highly recommend is contact whoever the lender is, whether it's a bank, a credit union, the dealer, whoever it is, and say, listen, I'm having trouble making this payment. Interest rates are high. They can reorganize that loan for you, stretch out the payments, which is not recommended. But the only other choice is to sell the vehicle. Now, if you're in a lease situation, the worst thing you can do is not pay those car payments. They will repossess the car. Repossessions are at an all-time high. So I highly recommend that if you're looking to buy a new car right now, check credit unions, get their best rates, then check with the dealer and the bank that you work with on a regular basis. Try to get the best rate. But right now, the worst thing you can do is stretch out the payment. Instead of a 5-year loan, go to an 84-month loan or a 5-year lease. It may sound great in getting the vehicle you want, but it puts you in an upside down position, which means you will always owe more on the car than it's worth.
A lot of things to consider. Lauren Fix, the Car Coach, thanks a lot for your insight.
Thank you.